She had one night to make the most important decision of her life. Outside her city walls, an army of 2 million people was waiting to destroy everything she had ever known. Inside her city, soldiers were already hunting the 2 men she had just hidden in her house. And she was a woman with the worst reputation in town. So why did she make it into the Bible's Hall of Faith? Why does the New Testament mention her twice by name? Why does her bloodline lead directly to Jesus Christ? Because of one decision, on one night, that nobody saw coming. This is the story of Rahab, and it will completely change how you think about second chances. Let's set the scene, because where you are matters as much as who you are. Jericho was not just any city. It was the gateway city to Canaan, the first major obstacle standing between the Israelites and the land God had promised them. It was heavily fortified. The walls were so thick that houses were actually built into the wall itself. It was considered virtually unconquerable. And the whole city knew what was coming. Word had traveled. 2 million Israelites were camped just across the Jordan River. And this wasn't just any army. These were people who served a God who had parted the Red Sea, destroyed the Egyptian army, and defeated every king that stood in their path. Jericho had heard the stories, and Jericho was terrified. And in this city, there was a woman named Rahab. The Bible doesn't ease us into her introduction. It doesn't soften it. It just says it plainly. She was a prostitute. That was her identity in Jericho. That was how everyone knew her. That was the label that followed her everywhere she went. Now, theologians have debated over the centuries exactly what her profession entailed. Some suggest she may have been more of an innkeeper, but the Hebrew word used, zana, is consistently used throughout the Old Testament to mean exactly what it sounds like. She was a prostitute. And I want to pause here, because I think we have to sit with that for a second. Because the natural human instinct, then and now, is to immediately write someone like Rahab off, to assume her story doesn't have much to offer, to skip past her on the way to the heroes. But God has this consistent, almost stubborn habit of choosing exactly the person everyone else skipped. And on this particular night, God sent 2 men to her door. Joshua, now leading Israel after Moses, sends 2 spies into Jericho to scout the land. And somehow, they end up at Rahab's house. Was it strategic? Did they think her house would be a good cover? A place where strangers coming and going wouldn't raise suspicion? Probably. Was it also completely orchestrated by God? Absolutely. But they'd been spotted. Word reached the king of Jericho almost immediately. 2 Israelite spies were in the city, and they'd been seen going into Rahab's house. The king sent soldiers directly to her door with one command. This is it. This is the moment. She has a choice. Hand them over, protect herself, stay safe, and stay loyal to her city and her king. Or protect them and commit what amounts to treason. Risk everything. Bet her life and her family's lives on a God she's only heard about secondhand. She doesn't hesitate. She tells the soldiers the men were there but left before the city gate closed. She says if they hurry, they can catch them. The soldiers take off. The gate's close behind them. And then she goes up to the roof where the spies are hiding. And what she says next is one of the most remarkable speeches in the entire Old Testament. Because this woman, who has never read a Torah scroll, who has never sat under a rabbi's teaching, who lives on the margins of a pagan city, delivers a confession of faith that most of God's own people haven't managed to articulate. I know that the Lord has given you this land. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea. For the Lord your God, He is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. Joshua 2:9-11. He is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. She didn't just know about God, she believed in God. More than that, she believed at a level that produced action. James 2 in the New Testament makes this point explicitly. Faith without works is dead. And Rahab's faith? It had works all over it. She risked her life for what she believed. She makes a deal with the spies. She protected them, so they protect her. When Israel comes to take the city, she and her family will be spared on one condition. She must tie a scarlet cord in her window, the same window she lowers them from that night, and she must gather her family inside her house. The cord goes in the window immediately. It doesn't come out until the walls come down. What follows for Rahab is something nobody talks about enough: the waiting. The spies go back. Israel crosses the Jordan on dry land, another miracle that the entire region witnesses, and then they begin their approach to Jericho. Jericho locks everything down. The text says, Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out, and none came in. The city is in full lockdown. They know what's coming, they just don't know when or how. And Rahab is inside, waiting, with her family gathered around her, a red cord in her window, trusting a promise made by two men she'd known for one night, representing a God she'd never personally encountered. For 6 days, the Israelites march around Jericho once a day in complete silence. No attack, no siege, just walking. And can you imagine what that looked like from inside the city? Can you imagine being a Jericho soldier on the wall, watching 2 million people circle you in silence for the 6th day in a row? And can you imagine being Rahab, watching from her window with the red cord hanging out, her family inside, every day going by wondering, today? Is it today? On the 7th day, they march around 7 times, and then the horns blow, and the people shout, and the walls came down. Every section of the wall was destroyed, collapsed, flat, except one section of wall, still standing, the section built into the city wall where Rahab's house was. The red cord in the window. The 2 spies go directly to her house. They bring out Rahab, her mother, her father, her brothers, everyone she had gathered inside, every single person who was under her roof and under her scarlet cord. They are placed outside the camp of Israel, safe. And then Israel burns Jericho to the ground. Now here's where the story does something extraordinary. Most stories like this would end with "and she was saved." And that would be enough. That would be a miracle. That would be worth telling. But God doesn't just save Rahab, He integrates her. The book of Matthew records the genealogy of Jesus Christ, and right there in the lineage, between the great names of Israel's history, is this: Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Matthew 1:5. Rahab married an Israelite man named Salmon. She became the mother of Boaz, the same Boaz who would show extraordinary kindness to another outsider woman named Ruth. And Boaz and Ruth became the great-grandparents of King David. And from David's line came Jesus. A Canaanite prostitute from a condemned city is in the direct bloodline of the Son of God. Not mentioned as a footnote, not buried in a list, in the genealogy, named, honored, remembered. And if that's not enough, the New Testament mentions her twice more. Hebrews 11, the Hall of Faith, right there alongside Abraham, Moses, and the great heroes of Israel. By faith, not by her clean record, not by her perfect past, not by her reputation, by faith. In James 2, where the apostle is making the case that genuine faith always produces action, he uses exactly 2 examples from the entire Old Testament to prove his point: Abraham and Rahab. Abraham, the father of the Jewish nation, and Rahab, a Canaanite woman with a broken past from a condemned city, side by side, as the 2 defining examples of faith that works. The red cord. It's such a small thing, a piece of thread, and yet everything, her life, her family's life, her place in history, hung on it, literally. Red, scarlet. The color of blood. The color of sacrifice. The color of the cord that would later echo in the Passover lamb, in the tabernacle, in the cross. She didn't wait until she had cleaned up her life. She didn't wait until she had a better reputation. She didn't wait until she felt worthy. She acted on the information she had, with the faith she had, from exactly where she was. And that is the whole invitation of this story. Not get your life together and then come to God, but hang the cord in the window, right now, from wherever you are, and let God do what only God can do. Rahab didn't deserve the chance she got. Neither do we. That's exactly why it's called grace. If Rahab's story spoke to you today, drop a comment. I genuinely want to know which moment hit you the hardest. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that their past doesn't disqualify them. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.